And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. Champions League nights on Off the Ball. Bigger than Zlatan's Eco. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
And welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through until 5. Football all the way now until the end of the show. Thanks to Paddy Power. For information on responsible gambling, visit gamblingcare.ie. You can text us 53106, tweet us at Off the Ball. You can listen on News Talk, but also watch us on the social channels for Off the Ball, for Periscope and Twitter at Off the Ball, YouTube, Facebook, and on the OTB Sports app. Search OTB Sports in your app store now to download it if you haven't already. Call outs. So Chelsea and Man City fans, how do you see the Champions League final going tonight? Who's going to win it and why? Man United supporters, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said to get a new deal. Are you happy with that? Should Spurs do everything in their power to get Pochettino back to North London? Would it be the best move for all concerned? So we're going to be joined by Dan McDonnell from the Irish Independent. We have Johnny Ward on the line as well, the broadcaster and journalist. And first on the show, the former Republic of Ireland international, Tottenham, Sunderland and Charlton midfielder, and Nottingham Forest under-23 manager, Andy Reid. Andy, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks, John. Yourself?
Yeah, great, Andy. Looking forward to tonight. I think like everybody else is. And how you been getting on? Have you been jumping out of the bed every morning with Forest and the coaching?
It's brilliant. I love it, John. I have to say, I'm absolutely over the moon with the work that I'm doing. It's brilliant. I love going in every single day. Got a spring in my step. The lads are great. It's a great bunch. It's a great club to work for. It's a club that is very, very close to my heart, as you know. So every single day going in it's honestly a joy. So I'm over the moon with how it's gone over the last year or so.
There's so many people who've worked with over your career, Andy, like the under-16 and Brian Kerr, Paul Hart, Billy Davies, Alan Pardew. You were in the Spurs dressing room. You worked and played with Roy Keane. What are the kind of tidbits that you've you picked up along the way that are helping you right now?
Well, listen, I think the main thing that I do when I go into it, I've got a football knowledge because of the experiences in football that I've had, but it's the people, it's getting the best out of the players, and to get the best out of the players, you have to know them, you have to get to know the players, all the different type of characters, you have to understand the ways to get your messages across to them, because if they if they're not interested in what you're doing and they don't buy into what you're doing, then you've got no chance. So you have to get buy-in from the players, and once you get buy-in from the players, the rest of it is easy. So that's what I'm working on. I'm working on my communication skills, how I get my messages across. I'm working a lot on how players learn. So you've got a lot of players, they learn differently. Some are visual learners. Some they need to be shown on a tactics board. Some they need to be shown actually out on the pitch. You need to walk them through it. So all them things I'm learning at the moment. I'm kind of navigating my way through all these bits, the psychology side of things, and just trying to really hone my craft. And it's a great place to do that. And I think the main thing is I'm learning so much every single day, which is great. I feel like a sponge at the minute where I'm just soaking in everything and trying to learn as much as I can, making mistakes every day, John, I've got to be honest with you, but as long as I learn from them, then probably now is a good time for me to make those mistakes.
We hear about the A licence, they've done the A licence or I've done the A licence, but what does that actually entail and how does that equip you then for what you're doing now, Andy?
Well, I think the A licence. I'd done it quite a while ago. I'd done the A licence when I was still playing, and I think what the A licence gives you, it gives you a good organisation. It gives you a real good organisation where you get to set up your sessions, you get to understand the size of the sessions, how many people you should have and what type of areas, and it's very, very organisational based and very, very session based, as in it really delves into the structure of the sessions and how you set them up and how you can set them up to get the best outcomes and to get your points across in the best way. So that's what I took from the A licence, and then you move forward to the Pro licence, and it's a different kettle of fish. It's more to do with the managerial side. There's a lot in the psychology side of it. There's a lot in the it kind of really delves into the depths of management, I would say, probably more than coaching, where you've got where you're kind of looking at when I say you're more in depth, you might be dealing with the board level, you might be dealing with managing down, managing up. You've got to get your point across. You've got to build them relationships with the chairman, with the CEO, build your relationships with the media, which is very, very important. So then the Pro license, as I say, takes it that next step where it kind of takes it a little bit away from football and a little bit away from actually being out on the pitch, but all the other things then that surround football management comes into play with the Pro license.
So as a coach, you must be really fascinated to be watching tonight's Pep and Thomas Tuchel in this Champions League final, just from a coach's perspective?
Yeah, no, definitely. I do. I find it fascinating. And I think the interesting thing is the games that they've played recently as well have been really, really interesting in how both of them are set up. I know that Chelsea have kind of got the upper hand, and they did in the last game, but I still feel City have the edge with the players that they've got. I like what Tuchel has done since he's come in. I think he's done a decent job. I wouldn't say he's done a great job. I don't think there was an awful lot that he needed to change. I've got to be honest with you. They've got a lot of fantastic players in there, but a couple of tweaks that he did make to make them a lot more solid, change the shape. He's kind of, well, I know Lampard played three at the back at times, but when, he plays that three at the back, and the way that Chelsea do it under Tuchel, I think is really, really good. So to see them going up against each other is very, very interesting. I just think with them little pockets that City come into, with how they're pressing in a 4-4-2 at the moment, but they're so flexible. It can be a 4-4-2 in the press, and then they can end up with three at the back then when they're played out to give them a little bit more flexibility. So they're so flexible, City, and the players that they've got can kind of jump in and out of them pockets and cause you real problems. And and with what they're doing out of possession for me, that's what I've been so impressed with City this season, has been them out of possession, how they've gone after the ball, how they've set up the press, how they've really forced teams where they don't want to go, and then they get so many men in and around it. They win the ball back really, really high up the pitch. And with them players that you've got, if you're winning the ball high up the pitch, and there's going to be gaps there, and there's a good chance that you're going to get something for it. But fascinating, as I said, the touchline battle for me is probably, I look at that quite a bit now, as opposed to looking at it from the players' side. I'm looking, what are the managers doing? How are they tweaking things? How are they changing things? Things aren't quite going their way. Are they quick to change it? How quick are they changing it? And how do they go about changing it? So all them things really, really fascinate me. And I think we're in for, I don't know whether a massively kind of exciting game, but I think tactically it'll be very, very interesting.
We got Johnny Ward on the line as well. It's just fascinating to hear Andy, the coach's perspective on what's going to be the chess grandmasters, Tuchel and Pep tonight.
Yeah, JD, I guess I have a question for Andy kind of along those lines. When you go down the coaching route, Andy, and you do your badges and so forth, and like I've had players I've definitely had a player to saying to me, like, there's no reason why normal people that aren't involved in the game shouldn't just look into getting a coaching badge just to see the game from a different angle. Do coaches have like this kind of I guess, do they have a code where they think they see the game differently to your average Joe, like I suppose myself and JD, or would you do you start essentially seeing things differently when you have done all those courses and when you see the tactical nuances as you would compared to somebody else, I suppose?
It puts a different spin on it. It opens it up completely. And I think the difference between when you're a player to when you're a coach is that when I was a player, I was very, very selfish, as most players are, in the fact that you look after your own position, you look after your own job. And if you do your own job, then you can probably help a teammate along. When you're a coach, you're looking after the whole team. So that's something that you need to get around, you need to get your head around. I know what you said. For me, I don't think you've necessarily had to have played the game to coach the game to a high level. I think you have to have a very good football knowledge, though. And when you see people like Mourinho, who didn't play the game, but tactically he's got such a good knowledge, and he's obviously really studied it. He's been in and around football, so he's kind of got the feel it. So I don't think necessarily you have to have played football. But for me, I find that it really, really helps me, because I can put myself back into positions where I might have been kind of 10 years ago and say, yeah, I know what that player's going through, or or even back further again, when I'm working with my 23 players, I've come through the Academy of Forest. I played in, it was the reserve team at the time, but it's the 23s now. So I kind of know what these players are going through, so I'm able to put myself into them position. When I'm on the pitch, I kind of think to myself, right, what would I have done then? What would I have done in this situation? And I think they're the things for me to be able to fall back on them experiences as a player. I think really, really help. But on the flip side of that, then you're you're retraining yourself, and that's what I've had to do. I've had to retrain myself from being a footballer to being a football coach, because it's completely different. Yeah, the knowledge is in there and you've experienced it, but the organisation, how you deal with people, how you manage a game. You're not just thinking about your position, you're thinking about everybody else's position. You have to think about the opposition more. Whereas when I was playing, that was a manager's job. So in a lot of ways, I've had to kind of retrain myself, which has been a fantastic process, and it's really, really broadened my mind on how the game should be played, on the different ways that the game can be played. I think when I was a player, I probably would have wanted everything played would have wanted my teams to play exactly like how Man City play out from the back, and probably wouldn't have concentrated on too much else. That was how I wanted the game to be played. Now I totally respect that there's so many different ways to kind of there's so many different ways to go about it, and so many different ways that you can be successful and get really, really good outcomes.
Well, on that, so if you look at, I have a lot of respect for Roy Hodgson. I know Liverpool fans will say that it didn't work out there, but I think the longevity of the man, in a game that's evolved a lot, staggering. Maybe ditto Alex Ferguson, who obviously looked quite well, I thought, on the pitch the other night. But, you obviously, your Trapattoni kind of time would have been well advertised. You mentioned Mourinho there, like, how difficult is it for a coach that's getting on to kind of, stay in tune with how the game is evolving? And is it evolving very fast from your perspective? You're involved in football now for the guts of, I suppose, 30 years in some shape or form. Is it evolving quickly? And, who's going to win? Because it can't, not everyone can play like Man City. And if everyone starts playing like Man City, maybe that means then that there are, physical aspects of the game or aerial aspects of the game that you can exploit. Like, where is it going to go? Where is it going to be in the next 10 or 20 years?
Well, you say evolving. I think probably a better way to describe it is probably revolving. Because I think it goes in circles. I really do. I think, everybody gets the craze when the Barcelona stuff was coming. Everybody needs to play kind of in triangles, really, really short, sharp football, get men around the ball. And then you've got then from probably Borussia Dortmund, maybe someone might tell me that it was before that in Germany, where you had Klopp's teams and they were really pressing high up the pitch, and then that seems to be the craze. And I think the ideal balance probably lies somewhere in the middle. And I mentioned Man City when I was chatting to you just there before, and I think that's why I've really, really loved watching them play this season, because they've got the balance between really, really good football when they've got a good movement, great flexibility, but out of possession is massive at the moment. And listen, probably it always has been, but the way teams are going about the press now, the way teams are setting her up, I think is massively important. It's something that I'm delving very, very deeply into at the moment. I want my teams to press. I want my teams to really go after the ball, but I want it done in the right way. So for me at the moment, the perfect way is the way City are doing it. In possession, absolutely brilliant. Out of possession, really go after the ball. Not everybody has Man City's talent, so other teams have to go about it different ways.
That's fascinating as well, because I guess people listening in won't be expecting Andy Reid to say, the thing that I'm really focusing on now is pressing, because obviously your game was we would have remembered you as a beautifully fluid footballer on the ball. But what so fascinates you about that? Because I guess at one level you want a really good press, but you don't want players absolutely running their asses off into the ground and being too tired then when they have the ball themselves.
Well, they have to be fit enough to be able to do both, Johnny. You have to be a lot fitter than I was when I played. Unfortunately, that's the way it is now. And I'd like to think that I'm clever enough to understand that not every single player and not every single team that I manage is going to play the way that I play. I'm realistic enough to know that if I'm going to have teams and I'm going to set up teams that are successful, that I can't set them up to play the way that Andy Reid played, because formations and styles of play are based around players. They're not based around, you have to have the players to play the formations, and you have to have the players to play the systems and the style that you want them to. There's no point in me having 11 Andy Reids out on the pitch and then asking them to all go and press the ball. It doesn't work like that. So you've got to look at what you've got. I think that's really, really important. And then you've got to come up with a style of play that suits them. You've got to come up with a system that suits them. And, I'm a big believer of kind of round pegs and round holes. roles. You know, and you know, looking at my squad, you know, who's good, where, and what you find. I mean, you know, what I tend to do, and my squad kind of evolves quite a bit with the 23s because you got players coming in, players going out. I put them up with the board at the start of the season, and I probably pick 2, maybe 3 formations. But in some ways, I don't even have to pick them; they just jump out at me. They're just there because I look at the players that I've got and I'm like, right, this is the formation. It becomes really, really obvious. And I think if you complicate it and you're trying to play all these mad formations and shoehorn people in here and shoehorn people in there, then it's probably not going to work. So what I tend to do is have 2 main formations and then one other that I can flip into so 3 altogether, but 2 main ones where I feel that I'd like to get the players into a place where they can flip within a game from one formation to the other seamlessly. That can really, really throw the opposition. But to do that, you have to be really, really well versed in both of them formations. And as I said, have the players that fit into them. So they're the type of things that kind of fascinate me about it, and they're the type of things that I'm learning about all the time.
Andy Reid here on OTB Football Saturday with Johnny Ward, 53106. We'll have Dan McDonnell as well shortly. I've got Mark Lawrenson as well after 4. How's your managerial style working out, Andy? Is it like arm around the shoulder and kick up the backside at the same time? Have you learned from all the dressing rooms you shared and all the managers you worked for to shape what you're doing right now?
But you know, I've taken so much from managers that I worked under that I would do, but I've probably taken more that I wouldn't do, if that makes sense. I don't know if I've explained that well. So I would I know that. Look at things that managers have done before, and I go, "There's no way that I would ever do that. There's no way that you could see it work." Because you know, I have the knowledge from inside the changing room where you're kind of sitting there going, "No way," and that's not to say that you're kind of going to get everything right. I think what I've had to do, there's a little bit of both. I think my players know kind of not to cross me, and that that they'll get a rocket if they need a rocket, but also they know that I care about them, and I think it's really, really important that you do care about them. I think it'd be foolish of me to kind of go in and coach a team and be. I mean, Paul Hart is the best coach of young players that I've ever worked under, and I was so fortunate to be able to get a football education for him. But I don't want to replicate what Paul done and how Paul done it, because young people are different now to how we were, and some of them wouldn't be able to take some of the bits that that Paul kind of put us through. He was a very, very tough taskmaster. So I have to get the balance between letting them know that they can't get away with what they want, but also letting them have the freedom, and also letting them know, as I say, that I care about them and I really, really want them to do well, which I do. And do I get that balance right all the time? No, I wouldn't say that I get that balance right all the time. Sometimes they probably walk off the training pitch and go really calling me all sorts of names. I'm sure they do at times, but I'm still learning as well. I'm still trying to kind of get that right balance, and as long as, and as I said, as long as I do learn from it, then that's absolutely fine. But I'd like to think that even at the moment, I'm getting a lot more right than I'm getting wrong, and I'm helping improve these players, and I like to see that. I like to see the improvement kind of week on week, month on month. I don't expect everything to be perfect because they still are young players. But I expect to see an improvement. I expect to see something tangible that we can really, really hone in on and say, yeah, this is where we're going, and there's definitely improvements being made.
I look at your career, Andy, 115 Premier League appearances, and you played with Wes Morgan and Jordan Henderson, who both end up lifting the Premier League trophy, and then you also played under Brian Kerr and Roy Keane. What were Brian and Kerr and Roy like to play under?
Well, I had a really great relationship with Brian, in particular, because when we played in the under-16s, we won the under-16 European Championship. I was only under 15. I was a year younger than them, and we played a game against for the under-15s against the under-16s at the AUL. Brian, it was like a training game that Brian had organised, and I think Vinnie Butler was the manager of the under-15s at the time, and I played really well. And then Brian pulled me up then for a friendly then against Scotland at Richmond Park, and that was my first involvement. But I was playing a year up, and Brian always looked after me, and I think all the lads probably looked after me as well with me. I suppose I was the baby of the squad, and so kind of coming in, but it was was great. They all really looked after me, and from then I had a great relationship with Brian. We had a couple of fallings out, as I suppose all coaches and managers do at some point. But it was great, and then to kind of walk my way through the underage with Brian, and then I always remember then getting called up for my first game for the senior team, and it gone full circle, and walking. We stayed in the Portmarnock Hotel at the time, and walking into the Portmarnock Hotel, and Brian and Noel, God rest them, Noel O'Reilly, they were sat there, and they kind of just had a big smile on their face, and I think it was a nice thing for them, kind of when I arrived, that because they'd seen that things had gone full circle from that under 15 versus 16 game all the way through to the senior team. I think they were really proud to kind of call me up, and I was massively proud and so appreciative. And Noel was like a father figure to so many of us, and he's somebody that we dearly miss, and and still keep in touch with Brian now, and it's great every time I have the conversation. He's like the oracle, isn't he?
Do you keep in touch with Roy?
I bump into him time to time, but I haven't seen him for quite a bit. To be honest with you, Roy was always very good to me, actually. I played with him. He was good as gold, and he helped me loads. Always had time for a conversation, which was, I suppose, for me, surprising from some of the stuff that I had heard. But he was always good. And then he signed me. Then when he was manager of Sunderland, he signed me from Charlton, and showed a lot of faith in me to kind of bring me in. And I think I repaid him in the respect that made a real impact in the team. And that when I signed in January, we were second bottom when I signed. We ended up staying up quite comfortably in the end, and he was always really. I always found him really, really good to me. I think I know people have some bad things to say, and they kind of. I think it's probably an easy one to beat with a stick, I suppose, and that's fine. People want to do that if they don't have good experiences of Roy, but I'm not going to sit there and give Roy stick when he was good to me. He showed faith in me, he saw me as a manager, he played me. So I enjoyed my time working under him.
We had John O'Shea on a couple of weeks ago, Andy, and you were just talking about the importance of getting that first kind of managerial job right, but it's completely the opposite for Roy Keane, in the sense that it's not his first job, and it might be maybe his last job as a manager, whatever his next one is, if it doesn't work out. But does he have enough to offer some team? Maybe obviously he's probably going to be linked with Celtic now, but does he have something to offer? And how important is it, maybe a Clough and a Taylor or whatever, that he has somebody with him that's maybe more along the tactical side of the game, or maybe even a good cop, bad cop type thing?
Yeah, he's got a lot to offer. He's very, very knowledgeable about football, and I know when you see the punditry stuff, and he probably goes a little bit over the top, but I think he's got a good sense of humour as well. And I think some of that is tongue in cheek as well. But I think he's got a fantastic knowledge of the game. I think the who's going to bounce alongside him, I think, is important. He actually had a decent enough balance when he was at Sunderland, where he had Tony Loughran, who's now at he's now at Burnley, and Tony was a really, really nice guy, but also a really, really good coach, and they kind of bounced off each other well. And I know when they went down to Ipswich, they had an old coach of mine, Charlie McParland, down with them at Ipswich. Now, Charlie can be a bit angry at times as well, so so maybe them two together needed Locko in between at times. So I do think it's important that you get that yin and yang, that you get that little somebody to kind of bounce off. I think it'd be a shame if he didn't get back into football in some capacity. I don't know what the capacity is going to be, whether it's going to be a coach or a manager or I don't know, director of football. I'm not too sure, but I do think it'd be a shame if he didn't get another opportunity. I think he'd be probably a lot better equipped now to kind of deal with a managerial job than probably was when he had the Sunderland and Ipswich jobs.
Why do you say that? He's 50 this year, and a lot of players now won't even remember him necessarily having played. A lot of the young players coming through, which makes me feel old, but it's relevant in the sense that aura doesn't necessarily matter if you're just a TV personality. You weren't that. I don't know. Roy Keane for me was almost a complete footballer. He could carry a team. He was an unbelievably intelligent footballer, and I'd love to see him back in management in some shape or form. But why is he more equipped now than he was, say, when he started?
Well, Well, I look at it from my perspective, and I think probably Roy. What was Roy when he took over Sunderland? Probably wouldn't have been far off my age. Maybe a little bit older than me. Yeah, so he's probably in around that. Now, I think if I took over a Premier League job at the moment, I'd be nowhere near ready. Now, I think I'd probably learn on the job, and I think you could learn really, really quickly. But I'm pleased with the way I'm kind of doing my coaching apprenticeship, so to speak. If you go into manage a team and straight away, and they got immediate results, and it was kind of like that quite a bit for the first 6 months, and then even for the second year, in the first year in the Premier League where we stayed up. But then when things didn't go quite well, then as a manager, do you have them experiences to fall back on? Have you kind of really? And Roy probably didn't, and maybe made some decisions that he probably would regret if he looked back on it. Listen, he might look at if he heard this, he might look at it and go, I don't regret anything. He might do, but maybe he might regret some of the decisions that he made or some of the ways that he's handled situations. And I would imagine that being a clever guy, which he is a clever guy, that he's learned from mistakes, and you'd like to think that he could do a decent job.
Okay, we've got to take a break. 53106. Andy Reid, if you have any questions for the former Republic of Ireland international Nottingham Forest under-23 manager, get them into us. We're back after this.
This Sunday morning on Alive and Kicking, health and performance coach Jerry Hussey on putting his own experience into his first book, Awaken the Power Within. And with so much focus on the menopause of late, are women receiving the support they need? I'll be speaking to a GP who says more and more women who've been living with symptoms for years have been coming now asking for help.
Alive and Kicking with Claire McKenna.
This Sunday morning at 9.
On News Talk.
Volkswagen's 0% PCP finance offer makes it even easier to enjoy that 100% confident feeling you get from driving a new Volkswagen. That's 0% on the Polo, the Golf, the new Tiguan, and even the all-electric ID3, plus many more. For a 0% PCP finance offer that gives you 100% confidence, search Volkswagen 212. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland and subject to lending criteria. Terms and conditions apply. Visit Volkswagen.ie for further information.
Now, that bit of stretch in the evening has this lot in great humour. Mind you, they're already delighted with themselves, saving a load by switching the car insurance to the AA. Still, it's nice to see them smiling, because it'll be gone when they see what I did with their dinner.
Right now at the AA, we're offering €100 off car insurance online and up to 10% off your quote when you buy AA membership. Who's got clever car insurance? For our best value car insurance, visit the AA.ie. New business policies only. Minimum premium of €280. Terms and conditions apply. AA Ireland Limited Trading as AA Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Here at EurocyclesEurobaby.com, we hope you and your family are keeping safe. We wanted to let you know we are back and fully stocked. No annoying jingles this time, just plenty of bikes. Open 7 days a week, our stores on the Long Mile Road and Airside Swords have everything you need, from commuter bikes to electric bikes, kids bikes and more. We're also fully stocked for all things baby. Check out the range and shop online at EurocyclesEurobaby.com.
It's been a long year, but at last it's here. The massive Easy Living Interiors Summer Sale. We've reopened our doors with new styles in all stores and savings that are off the scale. Gorgeous sofas and chairs, tables, beds and homewares, designs that are stylish and clever. We can't wait to show you round and the bargains to be found in the best Easy Living Summer Sale ever. Easy Living Interiors, Cork, Waterford, Navan, Naas, Sandyford, Drogheda and Wexford. Sale now on.
Summer is here and all Marks & Spencer stores are fully open again. So bring on warmer days, bring on longer days, bring on barbecues with family and picnics with friends, bring on sunny days out and weekends by the beach, bring on shopping safely for the styles and fits you love, bring on brighter colours and lightweight linen, bring on floral patterns and bring on sandal season. M&S stores are open, so bring on summer.
Climate change will impact every business in Ireland, bringing new challenges but new opportunities too. Is your business climate ready? Climate Ready from SkillNet Ireland helps prepare your business for a more sustainable future, offering subsidised upskilling designed around your needs. Take action today. Visit climateready.ie to see the full range of supports available. SkillNet Ireland, working with businesses throughout Ireland to build talent for the green economy. SkillNet Ireland is a business support agency of the Government of Ireland.
Ireland is recovering from the pandemic. Thanks to the extraordinary efforts and support of the Irish people and the significant progress made in our vaccination programme, we can continue reopening the economy and society through June. From Wednesday the 2nd of June, hotels, B&Bs and other accommodation can reopen. And from the 7th of June, our restaurants, pubs and cafes can open for outdoor service. There are other changes too in June, and we can look forward to further substantial reopening in July. With over 2.6 million doses now administered, our vaccination programme continues to make a positive difference in people's lives. While this continues, we still need to stick to all of the public health guidelines. Think outdoors when meeting others. Shop safely by wearing a face covering, even if vaccinated. And continue to work from home. We are getting there. So let's keep working together and keep moving forward. For more information, please go to gov.ie/recovery. Supported by the Government of Ireland.
Hi, PJ here from PH Ross. Your bathroom is usually the first room you visit every morning, and its look and functionality could dictate your day. Whatever your budget, at PH Ross, we pride ourselves on helping you create a bathroom to brighten every day. We're really excited to show you around our newly restyled showroom, so let's begin. For the bathroom you've always dreamed of, or the bathroom you'd love to dream in, come visit us at PH Ross on the Old Cabra Road, Dublin 7.
Last year, National Lottery players raised over €254 million to support good causes all across Ireland. You make this possible. The National Lottery.
After last year, you're probably 93% sure you need a kitchen and bathroom refresh, 87% sure you want a garden revamp, and crucially 99% sure you'll be welcoming guests again soon. Good thing the Tile Style sale has 40% off almost all tiles and 20% off bathrooms and wood flooring. That's incredible savings on the latest collections, including Porcelanosa and Cars of Sweden. So you'll be 100% happy with your home. Shop in store or online at tilestyle.ie. Terms and conditions apply.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. Champions League nights on Off the Ball. Bigger than Zlatan's Eco. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through until 5. We're joined by the former Republic of Ireland international and Nottingham Forest under-23s boss Andy Reid, football correspondent of the Irish Independent Dan McDonnell, and the broadcaster and journalist Johnny Ward to talk about the beautiful game. Football and Off the Ball thanks to Paddy Power. For information on responsible gambling, visit gamblingcare.ie. You can text us 53106, tweet us at Off the Ball. We're streaming the conversation as well now, as well as listening on News Talk. You can watch us on the Off the Ball social channels for Periscope on Twitter, at Off the Ball, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on the OTB Sports app for iOS and Android. Just asking some folks on 53106 and on Twitter about their Champions League, their key memories, their most resonant moments. Ronan O'Keefe, that awesome AC Milan team destroying Barcelona 4-0 in the 1994 final, incredible side and a sensational performance. Kevin Myers, 2002 final in Hampden Park. As a United fan, I had tickets secured for the final, only for Leverkusen to beat us in the semi-final. Went along anyway with a few friends. Was lucky enough to witness arguably the best goal ever in a final by Zidane. Graham O'Malley, Liverpool finals aside, I love seeing the Ajax side win the final in 1995. Seeing Lippmann and a very young Clivert always stood out for me. And Keith Masters, John Terry slipping when taking the pen out takes some beating. Andy Reid, this is the Super Bowl of European sport for me tonight, 8 o'clock. What are the key matchups for you between Chelsea and City?
Right. I think what City have to do, they're going to dominate possession. I think they need to be patient in the respect that they have to try and draw Chelsea out a little bit. They have to try and, Chelsea's they're very, very structured in their shape. They're very, very structured in their formation, and that can end up very, very quickly. It can end up as a 5 at the back. Now that can be difficult to break down. I think what you need to do, instead of trying to look to go forward every single time, for City, they need to draw that back, that kind of them wing backs out a little bit. They need to kind of pull them out and create a little bit of space down the side, and they can hoard the space down the side. So I think for me is you have to be very, very patient to do that, and you have to be prepared to knock the ball around the back, which Man City have the capabilities of doing. And I think if you're looking at match winners, you need look any further than Kevin De Bruyne. He can win a game at the drop of a hat. So you have to keep him quiet. Very, very difficult thing to do for 90 minutes for Chelsea. Phil Foden, I mean, what a season he's had, how he's come on. And listen, I would say, because I love working with young players, when you see these young players kind of get in and get the opportunity, and I know probably 18 months ago there was so many people calling for Phil Foden to go out on loan, but Pep knew that the best place for him to be was at City, and that he would give him his opportunity eventually. So I think Chelsea need to keep them too quiet. But, I'm saying that, John, and you asked me what are the big matchups, and you talk about quality players all over the pitch for both sides. So I don't know if there is one particular matchup, because, you can keep Kevin De Bruyne quiet and somebody else can go and win the game. And on the flip side of that, you can Pulisic is more than capable of doing something. And I look at Mason Mount, another young player as well, who for me is one of my favourite players. I love watching him play. He's absolutely fantastic, in and out of possession, can win a game at the drop of a hat as well. So I think it's very, very difficult to pick out one matchup because there's so many match winners on the pitch. I hope I'm wrong, and I'm probably kind of trying to play a little bit of reverse psychology with the Champions League final here. I hope I'm wrong, but I hope that we see an entertaining game. But I think it's going to be very, very cagey, and I don't think there'll be a massive amount of goals.
Okay, 2-0 to Brentford against Swansea. Dan McDonnell is joining us now. The reason, Dan, you're with us now is because you were at Stephen Kenny's press conference. Anything out of it?
Well, it's training camp mode. I'm sure Andy's been on some of those end of season training camps where it always seems to be the case that there's an Irish international window starting when the Champions League final takes place. It's like you're going through Champions League memories there, and I tend to associate a lot of the last 10, 12 ones with where Ireland were at the time, in New York or various places. And in fairness, would have John O'Shea involved in a couple, and he would be coming into camp afterwards. But obviously, in some ways it's a reminder that a lot of our players are operating in a slightly different world. I mean, he was speaking about how on Monday they will have Conor Herraham coming in, and as you mentioned, it's not going too well. Swansea 2 down, and Ryan Manning's also in the squad. But I suppose the other person that is coming in is Anthony Barry, who's the new Irish coach who replaced Damien Duff in March, who is on the Chelsea coaching staff, and will be coming in on Monday morning. So there will actually be someone with the Irish players this week who will be able to sort of, tell them real life stories about the Champions League final and what it was like to be involved, or give some insights or analysis or something, which I suppose highlights what an interesting appointment Anthony Barry is, because he's a sort of a very well-regarded coach, who actually, in the last year, the amount of knowledge and information he will have gained from working close at hand at Chelsea, initially with Lampard and his staff, but I suppose particularly with Thomas Tuchel in the last couple of months, and I'm sure he's picking up something. So, a lot of discussion about that, but I suppose, the Ireland are playing Andorra next Thursday. It's not the most high-profile game in the world. It goes without saying that Stephen Kenny needs a win. It's pretty obvious. And he has a squad that is, quite young. There is a number of established players missing for whatever reason, which tends to be the case at this time of the year. They called in a new player yesterday, Sammy Smodics from Peterborough, who no one really, as in no one, I say no one as in Ireland, knows a huge amount about. And it is one of these things where Stephen Kenny probably hasn't had a huge amount of time with his players. Like, they're actually spending a week together before a match, whereas the one thing you would say about the last 4 windows is that they've arrived in on a Monday, Sunday, Monday. Some players mightn't even train Monday because they've been playing the weekend and maybe have 1 or 2 training sessions before really big competitive games, whereas this is possibly the most relaxed gathering they've had. So I suppose the glass half full take, you're hoping that it allows for some constructive training ground work that will benefit them.
Were you excited by the under-18s you were working with, Andy, with the Republic of Ireland that are coming through?
Yeah, I definitely think that there's I think there's some good players coming through. I think we have to be a bit patient with them. I think you're getting to this stage now. If you look at Adam Eade, you look at Andrew Obama-Delia. We had on a trip with us over in Sweden a couple of years ago, and he was head and shoulders above everybody else. So, you're looking at people like that. You're looking at people like Jason Knight, and then for me, I think it's the right thing to have them in and around it and to have them doing it. But it's very, very difficult to pin your hopes on them at the minute, and I don't think it's massively fair on them. So they're having a bit of a bedding in period, and that's always difficult. But I think there's enough, and we've seen enough from the underage teams over the last probably 3 to 4 years, and seen enough from that 21s team that just narrowly missed out on qualification to suggest that we will have some players that will be able to compete in the not too distant future. I totally agree with Dan in the respect that this camp, I think, will be really, really important for them, because sometimes and I've done it myself where I've gone away to tournaments with teams, and you're in for 2 days or 3 days, and then you start the games, and you've got a game then every 2 days, and it feels like you've had the players for kind of 10 or 12 days, but I mean, you've only probably had 4, maybe 5 of them days to really, really work with them, to get some good work into them. The rest of it is walk-through stuff in between the games, and it's very, very difficult to kind of get the right feel and get involved. So I think that's why this week will be vital for them, and there'll be a lot of work going on the training pitch, a lot of really tactical work. There will be a lot of ideas kind of being banded around. There'll be a lot of things being felt out between the players, trying to see who's good at this, trying to see who's good at that. Okay, what way are we going to play? I think we've got... the time is massively important that you get with them, and I know every international manager is saying it, but I've kind of found it firsthand that the time goes so quickly, and you get so little time on the training pitch with them when you've got so many games. It's difficult. It's difficult. You want time, and it's probably my biggest time now when I'm coaching Forest 23s. My biggest time of the season where I will get the majority of my work in will be in pre-season, and that won't be just running work. That'll be all my tactical work where I'll get my do's and don'ts in. This is what we do. This is where. But I'll have probably 6, maybe 7 weeks to do that, where I'll be working with them probably 6 days a week. At the start, it'll be 7 days a week. So that's my time where I get it. You don't have that international football, so that's why this week will be vitally, vitally important for Stephen, and I'm sure him and Keith and Anthony will be looking at it, looking forward to it, to really trying to stamp their I think they've got a lot of information into them already, but just to get a little bit more, just to reinforce them bits that they want to get across.
Just Andy, I'm interested that you worked with Andrew Omobobadele, because I think he's an interesting case study for people who maybe may not be too much aware of him listening. I mean, he spoke during the week. Even when he was a teenager, he was on the League Slip United 3rd team in his very early teens. And, sometimes we have these players that we talk about all the way up, like the Troy Parrots. And probably, you were in a generation where there was a lot expected of you, from day one almost, and particularly Robbie and some players like that. He's sort of slipped under the radar a small bit, but then out of nowhere, he's playing for like a championship team that's got promoted. In the time you had with him, like, what attributes did you see, that sort of impressed you? And are you surprised by how quickly he's just dropped into championship level and looks like he's very comfortable?
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. As I said, we had him in Sweden with us probably, maybe 2 years ago, just over 18 months ago, we had him in Sweden with us, and he was, as I said, he was head and shoulders above everybody. I think he's always been on our radar. We've always known that he's got all the attributes to be a footballer. But I think probably over the last 2 to 2.5 years, he's really, really kicked on. He's got a great mentality, a real strong mentality. He's got a bit about him in respect that he's not afraid to put his foot in. He likes to win his headers, win his tackles. But in possession, He's excellent as well, but he can defend, he can play, so he's got a little bit of everything. Funnily enough, he came through. My assistant with Ireland when I was doing the 18s was Dennis Hyland, who runs a course. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's a transition year course run in conjunction with Fingal County Council and the FAI. We've had so many players come through that course. It's absolutely phenomenal. And Andrew came through that. What would it be now? Probably 6 years ago now, something like that. 5 years ago, I think it was. And Dennis said at the time, so the point that you're making is very true. Dennis said at the time he probably wasn't one of the better players on the course at the time, but to see how he's progressed and where he's got himself to, you'd have no problem recommending him. Spoke to Stephen, asked me about him about the time when we had him away. I said, Stephen, I don't think you'll have any problems with him. I've seen him play 3 times this season for Norwich, and 2 out of them 3 times he was the best player on the pitch. Not just the best player in Norwich's team, but the best player on the pitch. And they were excellent. Norwich were. They were my favourite team to probably watch in the Championship this season, and they played some great football, and he fitted right in. So he's got a big future ahead of him, and these are the ones that I'm speaking to, where the ones that I think we should really get excited about, but we need to be careful because they're not quite ready yet to throw them in the top games and expect them to be ready and hit the ground. They're just not ready for that yet, but if you nurture them the right way and you look after them the right way, in 18 months, 2 years, I think you're talking about somebody who'll have a serious impact, not just at club football, but on international football as well.
What's your ambition now, Andy? How quickly do you want to get into the managerial dugout? Are you happy with what you're doing now? And just in terms of your own graph, where you see yourself in the next 5 years? Yeah, I want to manage at the highest level I can, and I've said that all along, and there's no doubt about that. I haven't said that. I'm more than content where I'm at now. My learning is at the moment, and the things that I'm picking up, and as I said, honing my craft and still learning my craft at the minute this is the perfect place for me to be. So I'm not in any real rush. I'm loving the development of young players. I'm loving understanding how that pathway really works between first team managers, between 23s, how I can be that bridge between the 18s and the 23s. So I'm absolutely loving that. So I'm not in any hurry, but I am also very ambitious. I want to manage as high as I can. So I'm, as I said to you, so I'm like a sponge at the moment, and I'm a proper bookworm at the minute. I'm reading books on everything. I've got a book on my bedside table now, Klopp's Defending Tactics by some Greek bloke there. And I'm thinking to myself, I think my missus walks in, she goes like, who are you? That's where I'm at the moment, where I'm just constantly taking. I want to get better and better. I want to learn. I want to progress, and that'll come in lots of different ways. It'll come in the experiences that I have every day. It'll come in courses that I do. It'll come in books that I read. It will come in study visits that I make to different clubs, because I've got plans to go to a few different clubs around Europe, so I can see what they do, see how they do it, and I want to take so much of that stuff in. So all them things are things that are part of my progression and part of how I can make myself better and how I can improve, because I think the better coach that I am and the better person I am, then the better chance I have of trying to help these players to get where they need to. I say to them all the time that I was so fortunate that I experienced kind of going out in stadiums and playing in front of 40,000 people and playing at first team level and scoring goals at international level, and how special it felt. And that's what I think what drives me, is that I so want them, I can't tell you how much I want them to experience that, to experience what I've been through, because it is the best feeling. And it's not about the money, and it's not about the cars, and it's about that feeling when you walk out onto the pitch and there's a full house and the crowd are there, and you might get a win or you get a goal. It is honestly the best feeling in the world, and I want them to have it so badly. Well, you shared a pitch with Zidane and Henry, and all these Premier League games. Is there a game that stood out, the best game you played in, or the best opponent?
Well, I think it wasn't I think the Brazil game when we got a 0-0. Haven't said that. I don't know how we got a 0-0, but I was only somebody asked me about it a couple of weeks ago, and I ended up looking through the team, and you see some of the players that were on the pitch that day. You got Kaká, Roberto Carlos, Cafu. I've got Cafu's shirt upstairs. Lucio played, Ronaldo played, Ronaldinho played, and you're like, goodness me. So I think I think when I look back on that was a really, really fun memory. The win over in, I know it was only an end of season game and probably didn't mean as much to people, but when we beat Holland over there and Robbie scored, it was their last game before I think they went out to the Euros or the World Cup, I can't remember, and we beat them out there, and that was really, really special because playing in the Amsterdam Arena, I absolutely loved it.
Just in relation to Stephen Kenny, Andy, if you were in his boots now, and I know obviously you're a little bit compromised on what you can say here, but if you were in his boots, how would you look at this campaign, and would you be inclined, given the reality of our situation at the moment, and it's likely that we're not going to get out of the group, and it's likely that at some point in the not too distant future we'll effectively be basically out of the group in terms of qualifying, would you be inclined to look at bringing in young players and try to kind of use the campaign in the sense of looking forward rather than in terms of the crude kind of means of trying to get to Qatar, which obviously looks up against it now?
Well, I think you have to get the balance, and I'm not trying to kind of cop out of the question that you asked there, but I'll tell you why I think you need to get the balance, because if you just put a load of youngsters into a team, which might seem like a good thing to do, and you see they don't really have anybody with that experience to kind of bounce things off and to really help them go through them tough times, and I think you need to place the right experienced individuals at the right time, and you might be playing an experienced centre back with a young centre back, you might be playing an experienced right back with a young wide player, the same in midfield, and have them little partnerships that you do, because they need somebody to bounce off, because if you put them in, sometimes they go through the roof and they think, yeah, everything is great, but other times if all that pressure's on them and they've got no experience to kind of just to give you probably an example, I remember when I kind of got into the Ireland team, the first game that I started, Graham Kavanagh was next to me in midfield when we played against Canada, and it was brilliant, and he ended up going off injured early on in the game, but the start of the game I felt really secure with him. And some of my other kind of my favourite games that I played, I remember we played against Germany, we drew 0-0 with Germany, and I played with Lee Carsley, and he was next to me, and again I just felt really secure, like I could go and express myself, and he was like, Reedy, you just go and do what you need to do, I'll give you the ball, don't worry about anything else, I can mop up everything here, and I think that's the difference. You need a little bit of a balance. You can't go all out and say, right, I'm going to play 11 young players. It doesn't always work. You want to try and develop them, but you don't want to throw them in at the deep end where they don't have any experience or they don't have anything to bounce back to.
Yeah, okay, we've got to go. Andy Reid, just give us a quick prediction on tonight, very quickly.
2-0 City.
Andy, thanks so much.
Been a pleasure, lads. Take care. Speak to you soon.
Andy Reid, the former Republic of Ireland international, there on OTB Football Saturday. You can text us on 53106. You've got Mark Lawrenson coming now between 4 and 5 with Johnny and Dan. This is Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk.
On Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. Fake crowd noise. The Emirates never sounded so good. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie. Listen to News Talk on Smart Speaker. Play News Talk.
At Permanent TSB, we know your first home isn't always your forever home. Times change, families grow, and now you're looking for something a little more permanent. We're helping you make that move with new lower rates for second-time buyers, meaning you'll see real savings every single month. That's permanent support. Book an appointment today at permanenttsb.ie. Lending criteria, terms and conditions apply. Security and insurance is required. Warning, if you do not keep up your repayments, you may lose your home. Warning, if you do not meet the repayments on your loan, your account will go into arrears. This may affect your credit rating, which may limit your ability to access credit in the future. Permanent TSB PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Afternoons are easy with InsureMyVan.ie, Ireland's low-cost van insurance specialist. Get your business back on the road with InsureMyVan's best price guarantee. For super savings, visit InsureMyVan.ie. City Financial Marketing Group Limited, trading as InsureMyVan.ie, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
At Online Tradesmen, we've never been busier. And if you're a trade professional, there's never been a better time to join us. Access over €17 million worth of jobs nationwide every month, along with e-learning and other supports. Need a website for your business? It's included in your membership. And on average, Online Tradesmen members get up to 10 times their fee back in new sales, marketing tools and savings. Apply today at onlinetradesmen.ie. Online Tradesmen, the home of qualified trade professionals.
The doors are open again at the Kia dealers of Ireland. You can now drop in to see the entire Kia range, including our award-winning EVs and PHEVs, and discover our flexible finance offers. Take a test drive, and soon you could be driving away with the peace of mind that comes with our unique Kia 7-year warranty. Find your nearest Kia dealer on kia.com.
Kia, movement that inspires.
This is a finance offer. Terms and conditions apply.
Climate change will impact every business in Ireland, bringing new challenges, but new opportunities too. Is your business climate ready? Climate Ready from Skillnet Ireland helps prepare your business for a more sustainable future, offering subsidised upskilling designed around your needs. Take action today. Visit climateready.ie to see the full range of supports available. Skillnet Ireland, working with businesses throughout Ireland to build talent for the green economy. Skillnet Ireland is a business support agency of the Government of Ireland.
Trying to recruit someone right now? At irishjobs.ie, we know it's just one more thing on your endless to-do list. Somewhere between preparing Friday's presentation and picking up dinner. That's where irishjobs.ie can help. With almost 1 million registered career seekers in our constantly updated talent bank, you can be sure you'll always hire at the pick of the bunch. Take that to-do list. Get a fresh perspective on your recruitment. Visit irishjobs.ie/hire.
The new Dunn Stores app puts better value at your fingertips, so you'll never miss out on savings. Your 10 off 50 grocery vouchers are always just a swipe away. You can also track and earn Value Club points and browse our latest grocery offers. And when you download it today, you'll receive a one-time 10 off 30 welcome voucher. So all you need to do is grab your phone and start saving. The new Dunn Stores app, available now wherever you get your apps. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome voucher can be used on next grocery shop of €30 or more.
Harvey Norman, your SIM-free mobile phone specialists. Did you know phone networks charge over the odds when tying you into their long and expensive plans? Why pay more when you can save by going SIM-free? We have SIM-free phones from as little as €24.95. And we have the largest selection of SIM-free phones in Ireland, with all the top brands like Apple, Samsung, Nokia, and many more. Harvey Norman, your SIM-free phone specialists. We won't be beaten on price, range, or service.
Go! Welcome to a new era of iPhone at 3. Get amazing performance with the new iPhone 12 and pay nothing up front. That's with all-you-can-eat data and 99% nationwide coverage on Ireland's fastest mobile network. Switch in store or at 3.ie. 3. Make it count. 24-month minimum term and direct debit required. Ookla analysis of speed test intelligence data Q3 to Q4 2020. See speedtest.net/awards/3. 99% nationwide population coverage on 3G and 4G networks.
If you're aged 45 to 49, you'll be offered your free COVID-19 vaccine next. You can register now on hse.ie. When it's time for your vaccine, we'll send you a text with your appointment time and location. You'll be invited to get your vaccine at a HSE vaccination centre. If you can't register online, you can call us on 1850 24 1850. To register or to find out more about your COVID-19 vaccine, go to hse.ie. From the HSE.
The Future Proof Podcast.
It's happened to us all. You're watching a film or walking down the street and you say to yourself, I know that person. Maybe their name or who exactly they are eludes you, but you've seen their face before. You'll never forget it. But this is not everyone's experience. What if you couldn't remember anyone's face, including your own? Find out this week on a very special episode of Future Proof.
The Future Proof Podcast.
Proudly supported by Science Foundation Ireland.
Listen and subscribe to the podcast now on newstalk.com or on the Newstalk app.
Across Ireland. This is the IMRO Radio Awards National Station of the Year. This is Newstalk.
It's 4 o'clock. Good afternoon, I'm Adrian Harman. Travel agents say it's likely people will choose to wait until the autumn before travelling abroad. It follows the announcement by government that international flights can resume from July 19th. People will need proof of a COVID vaccine, negative PCR test, or that they have some post-infection immunity. But CEO of the Irish Travel Agents Association, Pat Dawson, says prospective tourists are still wary.
We certainly have seen interest, but not really much in July, because they still are waiting for what's the exact regulations, particularly with bringing children away, because it will be the holiday period as such, but that has to be gone through thoroughly as well.
The SRI says many people remain quite worried about COVID-19. The Institute says the level remains relatively high at between 6 and 7 on a scale of 1 to 10. However, Senior Research Officer Deirdre Robertson says it has been dropping steadily.
We found that worry has been decreasing since January, but it remains the strongest predictor of how somebody behaves.
There's been a further 464 COVID-19 cases. 90 people are being treated in hospital for the disease, a drop of 9 in the past 24 hours. 35 are in ICU, down 3 over the same period. The head of the HSE says it's gaining momentum in rebuilding healthcare systems following the recent cyber attack. Paul Reid has warned it'll be some time before the benefits are seen and that the risk level remains high. It's been confirmed the data of around 520 patients was leaked on the dark web 2 weeks ago. Stephen McMahon from the Irish Patients Association says it's a very upsetting situation.
For patients that may be anxious that their private records may be published is equally as concerning and frightening for them, because there could be details in a record that they wouldn't want, other family members or whoever to be aware of.
And comedian Steve Coogan's added an extra date for his Irish shows. It's after his new Alan Partridge show at Dublin's 3 Arena sold out. He'll now play the venue on April 23rd and 24th of next year. It's 2 minutes past 4.
News Talk Weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. The forecast today is low fares, on-time flights and improving customer service.
Staying mainly dry with a few scattered light showers, maximum temperatures of 16 to 21 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. Only the cream of the crop pick up Champions League medals. Jonathan Greening's got one. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
Welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through until 5, joined by the former Republic of Ireland international and the Liverpool legend Mark Lawrenson, football correspondent of the Irish Independent Dan McDonnell, and the broadcaster and journalist Johnny Ward to talk about the beautiful game. Our coverage, thanks to Paddy Power. For information on responsible gambling, visit gamblingcare.ie. You can text us 53106 or tweet us at Off the Ball. We're streaming the conversation as well now, so as well as listening on News Talk, you can watch us on the digital and social channels for Off the Ball, for Periscope and Twitter at Off the Ball, YouTube, Facebook, and on the OTB Sports app. If you haven't downloaded it already, you can search OTB Sports in your app store to do so. Just going to go through some scores. Brentford 2, Swansea 0. Are Brentford going to do it this time around in the Championship playoff final? Half time at Wembley. Brentford halfway there. In the Gaelic Games, Division 3 North in the Football League, Cavan 1-6, Derry 1-8 at Breffni Park. Fermanagh 1-7, Longford 11 points at Brewster Park. And in Division 3 South, Wicklow 1-8, Limerick 12 points in Aughrim. And it's Offaly 1-9 to Tipperary 1-9 at O'Connor Park in Tullamore. And a goalless draw as well in the Women's National League between Shelbourne and Wexford. And we also have camogie scores. Full-time in Group 2 of Division 1, Waterford 113, Cork 315. And full-time Offaly 8 points, Kilkenny 421. So a very comprehensive win for Kilkenny in Birr this afternoon. Just some text in here. Andy Reid, brilliant in the last hour. Such insight into his coaching philosophy with Nottingham Forest, where he's coaching the under-23s at the moment. Andy Reid is some man to talk, great to listen to. He did a really interesting interview with Joe Malloy recently. Championship playoff. I'm cheering for Brentford. Great to have a new team in the Premier League. In my view, relegated teams should be barred from immediate promotion back up. Case in point, Fulham and West Brom offering nothing new when they're back this season. Well, you have to say that, Paul, in Cork, that Leeds offered so much when they got promoted. Hi, listening to Andy. He's an excellent speaker, has got great insight into the coaching profession. Hope he has a very successful career, says Jim and Claire. A great show as usual, lads. Thank you. Nothing unusual, though, about Roy Keane not making it as good as a manager. The number of great players who make it as a good manager is quite small. That is from Niall in Tala. Champions League memories. Tomas Dowling, first memory of a final 97 Dortmund in Juve. The Ricken goal plus those jerseys were class. Dee McGinn been to a few, but the first 30 minutes of Juve Madrid in 17 in Cardiff was absolutely breathtaking. Hardly a mistake. Great atmosphere too. Madrid and Ronaldo ran away with it at the end. Conor Kane, the Porto Bayern final in 87 was a cracker. The year before, Barcelona under Venables were red hot favourites, but drew a terrible match 0-0 with Steaua Bucharest and missed all their penalties. Steaua won the shootout 2-0, I think. Mark Lawrenson, what are you expecting tonight between Chelsea and Manchester City tactically?
Very tight. I think the two occasions where Chelsea have beaten them this season, John, they've changed on both occasions. Certainly the game at Wembley, they were very, very good, Chelsea most definitely. And of course they've got that pace up front, but their only problem really is, with all the pace, you haven't really got the outstanding goal scorers yet. We talk about Werner and stuff, but he's gets in great positions, run the channels. He's lightning quick, but he's finishing at the moment. He'll need a banjo to a barn door with, doesn't he? So I think he'll just be tight, to be honest with you. But I fancy City to win it.
Is that because they got more match winners in the team?
More match winners. I think they're in a fabulous place as well. It doesn't really matter. They won't be thinking, Chelsea beat us last couple of times, because this is the biggest club game in the world. So, Chelsea have got massive nerves. City got massive nerves. But City just at the moment, the football's outstanding. Playing without number 9 at times as well. Match winners, as you rightly say, all kind of different match winners. I mean, the goalkeeper's made some or created chances this year, hasn't he? So I think it's a game at the right time for me for Manchester City.
And a big night for two English talents, young lads, 22-year-old Mason Mount, 21-year-old Phil Foden. This is the real stage now for them to shine, even though we know they've been doing that already, but this is the real stage.
Well, I think, if you can shine at this stage, these lads are young and they're fearless, but if you can shine at this age, the biggest club game in the world, then you're going to be some player, assuming, of course, you don't have that year next year where everybody expects you to be brilliant every week. All of a sudden you come under pressure, and everyone's always not the same player. But yeah, I mean, they're both outstanding. Score goals, make goals, see things in the game that other players don't see. And as long as they stay healthy and fit, they're going to. I was going to say they're going to have big careers, John. They've already got very, very big careers. They could have massive careers, in all honesty.
If Chelsea are going to do it, how are they going to do it?
By stealth, I would have thought. They denied City last time, the Wembley game. They denied City in the midfield areas. They made it really, really tight, and were prepared to let City have it in the wide areas, then go across. Defensively, they were very, very organised, no frills. The three centre backs kind of kept really, really tight. There were no gaps. They stayed stayed on the feet in midfield and made it difficult. Hey, just when I was hearing you just before as well, that Steaua Bucharest one where they beat Barcelona on penalties.
Venables, yeah.
They actually played for penalties from the first minute.
Right.
Did you ever see the game?
I was a year later, Mark. It was 87 was my first one, the Porto Bayern game.
So. Honestly, they parked the bus, and it was a double decker before anybody parked the bus. It was incredible. They weren't interested in playing football. They just purely and physically stopped Barcelona and then nicked it off them, because it was managed Terry Venables, wasn't it? Managed Barcelona.
Yeah, in 86, yeah.
You kind of would find a bit for those times as well, in the sense, imagine Steaua Bucharest winning it now. And I know we already effectively have a Super League in the form of the Champions League, where, it depends on what country you're from, if you've any chance of even getting into the group stages. And if you're fourth, you can get in England. But if you're first in another country, it's just not. I don't know what you think, Mark. How have you I know it produces great games, but there was a magic about the old European Cup as well.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. But the problem being that the very best teams, they're all the rich teams, aren't they? And they just get the better players all the time. And it's really, really difficult. I mean, was it last season Atalanta? Did they get to the quarterfinals? Did they get beat by Liverpool? I think but then I tell you what a good side, relatively little budget. It's just a case of you just get teams coming along at times. You just get a group of players together who are very, very good, But as opposed to actually trying to win it or to get to the final, we don't get minnows anymore, do we?
What was 84 like, Mark? You were one of the very few Republic of Ireland internationals to have won the European Cup. You won against Roma in Rome.
Yeah, well, it should have been Dundee United because the referee was bought, wasn't he?
Well,
did you know that?
No, I didn't know it. I don't know if it's true.
Yeah, he got found guilty, and years later somebody coughed on him. He'd received presents and whatever and ever, and they were done, Dundee United. But that, I was just thinking, when you texted me yesterday about what we're going to talk about, because last week when you said you pick your Premier League team, I'd never even thought about it, so you could tell I was on the hoof. We won the league basically. We won the European Cup away from home because I'm pretty sure we played Bilbao. I think they came to Anfield and I think they got a 0-0, and they were a good side. And it was a bit it was full when we went to Bilbao for the second leg, and they were very vociferous. And every time one of us made a tackle, it was like they were all going mad and stuff. But we won 1-0. I think Rushy scored with a header, and he got nickname of Tosh after Toshak for that. I think we may have also played Benfica. I know we played them 2 seasons running. And I think Benfica came to us. I think we might have only won 1-0, Benfica. And then we went there and we came into the ground, John. It would be 7:45 kickoff local time. We're in the ground 2 hours before, and it was full. And it was lashing down. And it was, I'll tell you what, if you ever needed a cure for constipation, it was waiting for that game to start. There was massive pressure. And then Bucharest at home, and they let me think, they man-marked Kenny D, Rushy, and Graham Souness. And in fact, the bloke who man-marked Graham Souness got a broken jaw off Graham. I shouldn't laugh, but we were 1-0 up. Little Samuel Lee scored with a header from the corner, and this lad who was playing against Graham, his surname was Moliva, and he was spitting at Graham, and I'm not excusing him for what he did, but spitting at him and kind of going to pull him up when he's knocked him over and grab the hairs under your arm and all that, the old tricks and everything. And Graham just had enough, and of course, even though it's televised, there would only be 4, 5, 6 cameras max. So we got a corner at the top end late in the game. Graham was on the edge of the penalty area, and of course everybody's watching the goal area, and the cameras are all watching the goal area. The corner came in, and as the corner was taken, Graham had a little look where one of the lines was, and he was kind of watching where the corner came in, and just hit this fella in the jaw and broke his jaw. So when we went for the second leg to Bucharest. I mean, you're playing the national team. They were all in the army.
Ceausescu's Romania, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was lively, wasn't he? So we're playing the army. What happened was, and you probably won't remember, but there was probably 4 or 5 of us with long dark hair and tashes, and as was the thing. And Joe Fagan said to us on the day before the game for training, he said, we're going to go down to the ground because they'd had loads of rain, and it was the day of the game, and he wanted to see the pitch, and he wanted to see if it was bad. He wanted us to know it was bad, and therefore prepare ourselves, which was quite obviously a good thing. Anyway, we pulled up in the bus in the coach outside at the ground, and we were ringed by soldiers all the way around the bus, all arms and everything, and I was just kind of sat by the window, minding my own business, thinking, well, this is a bit naughty. And the soldier just looked at me and he knocked on the window. As he knocked on the window, he did the thing with the hand across the neck, as in, you, because he thought I was Souness. And I went, no, it's not me. And pointed to Graham, right? And Graham was loving it. He absolutely loved it. Anyway, we didn't get out. It was too wet. So we started the game, and I remember his first tackle on Souness almost broke his leg. It shattered his shin pad and everything, and it drew some blood. Graham got up, and the fellow was looking at him, and Graham just gave him that thing where, come on then, if that's the best you can do. Oh, my God, and we're thinking, Christ almighty, we used to call him Charlie, well, still call him Charlie. Hey, Charlie, for Christ's sake, we're all going to get done here. Anyway, we won. I think we won 2-1. I think don't know whether Rushy scored 2 or Ronnie Whelan maybe. And the funny thing about it was that we got back into the dressing room, and Bobby Robson, the national England manager, got in before Ronnie Moran and Joe Fagan. And Bobby Robson was stood on a chair to us before those two got in, and he went, "I'll tell you what, boys," he said, "that's the best away performance at this stage of this competition I have ever seen." And Joe and Ronnie heard the last of this, and they came in, and Joe said to him, "Bugger off, will you, Bobby? We never tell them if they're any good." He said, "We just about got through. It's the typical boot room, knock you down, knock you down, knock you down." And we had a good laugh about it, obviously. And then, of course, we went to Rome. And Rome are playing at home. And have you heard the story about Chris Rea?
No, do I want to? Go on.
Yeah. No. So, well, Chris Rea, because what happened was 3 of the lads came from Middlesbrough, didn't they? Graham Souness, Davy Hodgson, and Craig Johnson. And they knew Chris Rea, and they knew his songs. And occasionally, when we won big games, used to sing this song. I don't know what it is, but I like it. And we get to the ground again really, really early, and Ronnie Moran, we got changed in the corner of the ground up these stairs, up a flight of stairs and everything, which was a bit strange. And Ronnie Moran said, clear off, we need to put the kit out. So we went out, and we had to come down the stairs, Indian file, because they were so narrow, and we walked into the corner of the ground, and there was a kids' game on, and the place was full, apart from the Liverpool end. They were obviously still drinking in the bars and stuff. And Charlie again, it's always Charlie, the captain, he sort of said, "Come on, let's walk round the pitch and get these at it. And we went, "What? Come on, let's get them at it." He loved all this stuff. So we walked round the pitch. They were chucking bottles at us and everything, plastic, fortunately. And by the time we came all the way round, one of the lads started singing just as we were going up the stairs, okay? So we go up the stairs and we sing the song. I don't know what it is, but I love it and all that. We only knew the chorus, being stupid footballers. Never thought anything of it, okay? So we win on penalties, all that stuff. Brucey like wobbly legs, but he never got near any of the penalties. I think he went the wrong way for everyone. They missed a couple, didn't they? So we've won it. At the end of the game, in the press conference, the Roma manager, when asked a question about the performance and all that kind of thing the night, and he just said, I knew my team was beaten. He said, 40 minutes before we started the game. And all the press guys going, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, we were in the dressing room," he said, "and we were having a kind of our last kind of tactical discussion about, Liverpool, etc., and the way they play and everything." And he said, I hear this singing. And he said it's getting nearer and nearer and nearer, and therefore louder and louder and louder. And he said, just at the moment that I realised it was the Liverpool players singing, he said, all my players turned white. And he said they looked as though they'd seen a ghost. They thought, bloody hell, fire! How confident does this look? And he says to this day that was the reason, obviously, that Roma didn't play particularly well. And the other thing, sorry, it's a bit of a shaggy dog story, but the other thing as well is that the captain of Roma on the night, I think his surname was Di Napoli, he committed suicide 10 years to the day because he missed the penalty on that night.
Oh, that's horrific. That's a horrific story. Oh,
I know.
Dan McDonnell, have you been to a few of these Champions League finals, I'd expect?
Well, as I said to you before 4 o'clock, John, generally they tend to clash with Irish international windows, so I've watched a lot of them while away with Ireland. So I was at the All-Germany one in 2013, but that was because Ireland were playing England there a couple of days later in Wembley when Shane Long got the header. So not as much. Like, I'm glad to have been to a couple, but not in the volume that, some of the other games, we might speak about, or when we go into our Euros nostalgia or whatever, in the weeks to come. But I mean, listen, it is the benchmark game probably for football now. And I was making the point in the piece today where I just referenced Anthony Barry that, like, the Champions League final has now become the gold standard of football, and listen, it's still, for me, like, prestige, like the World Cup is still, it has that sort of special symbolism and power, and it's every 4 years, and you have players like Messi and stuff who have this pursuit of it that probably makes it elusive. But if you're going to judge in terms of pure standard, like, this is the best level of football you will see. I think like even in recent seasons, it feels like it's been elevated. Like it feels like the whole knockout and final of the Champions League has just been elevated to a level that you mentioned the great games that have passed, and it was always there. But certainly, maybe it's just because football is so much more international now that you have, quite often you will have in the Champions League final a very significant percentage of the best players in the world on the pitch at one time. And like you hope that this game ticks the boxes for that. Like I'm not necessarily, I don't not just in a traditional sense, not like a big fan of two teams from the same country playing in the final. Because there's a familiarity. We can refer back to the cup semi-final in recent games, but still there's loads of angles and stories and little subplots in it. And I think we spoke about this a couple of weeks back. Man City and Chelsea, like there's no romance in it. Like it's not really like there's no beautiful backstory behind the ownership of either clubs. But in saying that, you can be a hypocrite by having strong views on that, and yet at the same time marveling at the sort of individual brilliance of the characters involved, the brilliant coaches, the brilliant players, players you're particularly fond of. You're personally, massive Kevin De Bruyne fan, and like you love to see them involved in this stage in games like this.
Mark, you must have been to a lot of finals with the BBC as well. You must have seen it significantly evolve since you played in '84.
Oh yeah, and '85, of course, I saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's become showbiz, isn't it? It's basically that's the thing about it. And I mean, the best I've ever seen was obviously the Liverpool 3-3, which was nuts.
You were there, were you, Mark?
I was there. I tell you what, John. I mean that. They said Istanbul. Said they played it in Istanbul. It was about 16 miles outside the city centre, and they were still laying the paint marks on the road the day before we went to get our tickets and get acclimatised and all those kind of things. And we went to get our tickets, and they were literally still painting the lines in the road. But also that was it seems like I've got a story for every time I come on and speak to you. But my pals who live in Southport, one or two of them have got a few quid, so they hired a private plane to go to the game and transport from the airport afterwards to the stadium and stuff. And at half time, they said, "Tell you what, why don't we ring the captain, the skipper of the flight, and say we're going to come back? Let's just jump in the minibus with the driver." So they went, "Yeah, this could, we might get a goal. We might finish 4-1, something like that." So they all chucked into the minibus, and of course on the way back, we get a text, 3-1. So it's show of hands was right. What do we do? Do we carry on to the airport, or do we turn back? Carry on. It'll be fine. Well, then of course they got the 3-2, and straight away it was, "Driver, turn round." Somebody rang the pilot and said, "You'll see us tomorrow at some stage. We'll let you know." And they came back. It was 3-3 when they came back, but obviously they enjoyed themselves afterwards.
Amazed how they got back in, to be honest.
Well, it's not for places like Istanbul and all those kind. And by the way, John, they had kind of hospitality tickets, so I don't think that was an issue. They weren't in the far corner, by the way, looking at the ants playing football. They were right in the centre.
Who do you see as the key players then tonight? Should he start Aguero? Should he play the false nine? Pep, he probably have a few things up his sleeve, personnel-wise.
I don't think he'll start Aguero. I think Aguero's on the bench. I would have thought, come on, maybe when he might nick a goal or want to nick a goal if he's in trouble. I just think the midfield players are the key for me. Obviously, De Bruyne is I just think he's absolutely fab. I think he's the best player in the world at the moment. Foden, brilliant as well. Just everywhere you look, Mahrez is having a fantastic run as well. And I think from Chelsea's point of view, I think I always think with Chelsea sometimes, and the more I see Tuchel's team, I think you can almost close your eyes when the game's on, and you know where everyone is. Everyone, it's like military position. Everyone is just in the same position all the time. I think he's very he's obviously very, very organised. You can almost say that he's very Germanic as well in his methods. I think they're just going to make it really, really difficult. And it's a case of how often they're on the ball, Chelsea, and what they can do with it. And you just wonder sometimes with City, if they've got the ball all the time and they're creating chances but they're not scoring, Chelsea will get an opportunity. And in all these games, in all these finals, no matter how badly you play, you will get an opportunity, unless you're the Romanian team.
Steaua Bucharest. Okay, 53106 off the ball Saturday on News Talk. Going to talk about Robbie Brady leaving Burnley. Going to talk about Man United and Solskjaer, the defeater of the week, with Mark Lawrenson, Dan McDonnell and Johnny Ward after this.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. Fake crowd noise? The Emirates never sounded so good. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
Tech Talk with Jess Kelly.
On the latest Tech Talk, the team behind Gym Plus Coffee talk about building their brand online. Stephen Douglas, lighting director for The Killers, talks about getting the show back on the road. Plus, we'll hear how iOS 14 has advanced our understanding of data protection.
Tech Talk with Jess Kelly.
Thanks to Think. Visit thinkpm.ie.
Listen and subscribe to the podcast now, or tune in this evening at 5.
On News Talk.
Hi, David Keeling here. At Keelings, we like to work in harmony with nature, which includes looking after our little friends, the bees. Our Keelings Great Rewilding project aims to help reverse the declining population of bees and other friendly pollinators, and we'd love you to join us. There are lots of simple ways to rewild a part of your garden, like taking a break from mowing a piece of lawn. Visit keelingsgreatrewilding.ie for more really easy rewilding ideas, and let's get growing. Keelings, love to grow.
Today, we are all pioneers, standing at the cusp of a bold new frontier, the era of electrification. At Lexus, we know this landscape well. We were the first luxury brand to cease diesel production, offering instead an all-electrified range of self-charging hybrid and fully electric vehicles. We've helped more than 2 million drivers worldwide set off on their electric adventure. Isn't it time you started yours? Lexus. Experience amazing.
Planning to redesign your office? The team at Hunt Office Interiors have you covered. We've been specialising in glass partitioning systems and office fit-outs for over 21 years. With a wide range of glass partitioning held in stock, including our fire-rated systems, we've a solution to suit any requirement. Our design team are here to help bring your vision to life. Email interiors@huntoffice.ie and arrange to visit one of our ultra-modern showrooms in Dublin, Limerick and Cork. Hunt Office Interiors. Supporting our business community for over 21 years.
Afternoons are easy with insuremyvan.ie, Ireland's low-cost van insurance specialist. Get your business back on the road with Insure My Van's best price guarantee. For super savings, visit insuremyvan.ie. City Financial Marketing Group Limited, training as insuremyvan.ie, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Okay, so let's start with
Laura, school.
Mum, just 2 minutes. My recital's tomorrow.
I know, you can stream your lesson in the car.
With total dedication backed by Ireland's best performing mobile network, amazing things can happen.
You got it.
Enjoy super-fast streaming on Vodafone Pay As You Go. Switch today in-store or online and get up to €100 off a range of smartphones. Vodafone. Together, we can. Offer subject to availability. Claims based on network test results conducted by Umlaut on 3 major networks in February and March 2021. Terms apply. See Vodafone.ie for full terms.
That's the sound of Jack, who's just figured out what he paid for the last 2 years on his mobile network plan. Mobile networks charge over the odds when tying you into their long, expensive contracts. Why pay more? Save by going SIM-free with Harvey Norman and choose your own network plan. We have the largest range of SIM-free phones in Ireland, from top brands like Apple, Samsung, Nokia and many more. Harvey Norman, your SIM-free phone specialist. We won't be beaten on price, range or service.
Sean, what's that thing going round the garden?
That is our new Husqvarna Automower.
Automower?
Yeah, it's a robotic lawnmower from Husqvarna. Cuts the grass automatically, has GPS tracking and an app. Even works in the rain. I just thought, why spend time cutting grass when I could spend it with the family?
Great! You can put the dinner on, so...
No can do, love. Have to paint the man cave.
Husqvarna Automower. Never mow again. Learn more at husqvarna.ie.
The new Dunnes Stores app puts better value at your fingertips, so you'll never miss out on savings. Your 10 off 50 grocery vouchers are always just a swipe away. You can also track and earn Value Club points and browse our latest grocery offers. And when you download it today, you'll receive a one-time 10 off 30 welcome voucher. So all you need to do is grab your phone and start saving. The new Dunnes Stores app, available now wherever you get your apps. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome voucher can be used on next grocery shop of €30 or more.
It's a busy time on farms, so watch out for tractors, trailers and other farm machinery using the roads. Be patient, slow down and only overtake farm machinery when it's safe to do so. If you're driving a tractor, you must hold a licence. Make sure your vehicle is roadworthy, check your load regularly and drive at a safe speed. Be aware of traffic building up behind you and when possible, allow cars to pass safely. From the Road Safety Authority and the Irish Farmers Association.
Hi, it's Davy Fitzgerald here. No one likes to receive a red card. But this Bladder Cancer Awareness Month, I have teamed up with the Marie Keating Foundation to give bladder cancer the red card. Join me and raise awareness of bladder cancer by understanding its early signs and symptoms. And together, let's send bladder cancer off the pitch.
If you see blood in your urine, experience pain when passing urine, or notice any change to your toilet habits, speak to your GP immediately. For more, visit mariekeating.ie/red card. Kindly supported by Roche Products Ireland Limited.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. Champions League nights on Off the Ball. Bigger than Zlatan's Eco. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
Welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through until 5. Now don't forget that on next week's Paddy Power Half Hour, we're continuing with our new segment Near Miss, which is aimed at allowing you to reclaim a losing bet. If you've had a single bet or an accumulator that's fallen down, take a screen grab of your losing bet. Be sure to include your bet slip ID, then just send it in to us, either using the PP Near Miss hashtag on Twitter, or hit us with a DM on Instagram, or send your snap to us on WhatsApp to 087 9 180 180. We will do the rest. We'll announce the selected winners every Friday at the end of the Paddy Power Half Hour. You can see all the T's and C's on otbsports.com. Stay tuned as well to our OTB social accounts for more and for information on responsible gambling. Visit gamblingcare.ie. Scores from Gaelic games in Division 3 North of the Allianz Football League. Cavan 2-10, Derry 1-14 at Breffni Park. That's a narrow match. And Fermanagh 1-14, Longford 16 points at Brewster Park. Division 3 South, Wicklow 1-11, Limerick 2-16 in Aughrim, and Offaly 1-16 to Berry 1-11 in Tullamore. 2-0 to Brentford, still against Swansea in the Championship playoff finals. So the Bees set for the Premier League, and also it was goalless earlier on, wasn't it, in the Women's National League. That was the match between Shelburne and Wexford Youths at the moment. Athlone 10-1, Bohemians 1, Peamount 1, Galway 0. Just some texts in here on the Champions League final. Chelsea against City, 8 o'clock tonight in Porto. Paul O'Neill, great childhood memories, a Wednesday night in the middle of May. Match starting off in continental evening sunshine, finishing under floodlights, playing with a ball design you never saw before. Ingram Parsons, Liverpool against Roma. Grobbelaar in the penalty shootout was classic. Paul Drummond, Juventus team that beat Ajax in penalties. This was 96. My first final I can properly remember. Del Piero, Ravanelli, Vialli, brilliant jersey too, big yellow star on the shoulder. Class Ajax team as well. Litmanen was some player. And John O'Donnell, I'm no Bale fan, I'm a Zidane fan and as a Liverpool fan, but even still the Zidane goal is nowhere near as good as the Bale goal. You can text us on 53106. Mark Lawrenson, Dan McDonnell and Johnny Ward. And Johnny, I hope Robbie Brady gets somewhere good now to go to after his time at Burnley came to an end, because I suppose he's been a really creative player, as like we had Andy Reid on the show earlier on, and just been unlucky with injuries.
Yeah, you know, Dan referenced Hourihan as well. We've a slew of midfielders who've kind of not had a great time with, really. You know, you look at some of the young players that we were sort of hoping to come through. Malumbi has had a poor season, really. He didn't really kick on loan, and it's interesting where he'll go now. And Robbie Brady, he's probably struggled to find his form to an extent for Ireland, but for at club level as well. But he's still like he's not over the hill by any means. It'll be interesting. I wouldn't bank on him getting a Premier League club, to be honest. Now he might have to drop down a level. I don't know what Dan thinks about this, but his next move will be important, because you do feel he might be at kind of a real kind of pivotal point in his career, I think, at this stage. And like Ireland, you know, you talk about Stephen Kenny, we badly need centre midfielders who are playing for their clubs. I think that's been an issue for Kenny, in that he's tried a few players. James McCarthy's, you know, he's had a mixed bag of a campaign, you'd have to say, as well. He's had players coming in to play in, like centre midfield is such an important position for Kenny teams, but he hasn't been able to pick players that have been playing regularly or necessarily playing for top clubs in any event. And I'd say Robbie Brady would probably struggle to get a Premier League club now. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think the thing about it is, though, he is a free agent, Johnny. It's the only power that a player has. When there's no fee involved, you might have half a chance of going somewhere. There's a newly promoted club. Look at it. I mean, I think Stephen Kenny will be playing Robbie Brady all the time if he was fit. But the fact is, it's how little football he's played in the last couple of seasons. I mean, it's almost hard to believe he's been at Burnley for the guts of 4 years. I remember he joined them early. There was a game against Chelsea where he scored a brilliant free kick, and you're thinking, yes, this could be a move for him. This could be a natural fit for him. But I mean, he got a bad injury just after Ireland lost the playoff 5-1 in 2017. I mean, that was the season he joined, and really, I don't know if he's ever been the same since. I mean, I think he started 5 games last season. This season he actually did start more and had been involved a lot more, but hasn't played since March. And it's very difficult, I mean, Robbie Brady's someone that if you're sort of covering Irish football, you remember him as I think he was our top scorer at under-21 level ever. I think, you remember him at Manchester United, and yet it feels like in an instant it's passed, and all of a sudden he's 29 this year, and you're thinking, okay, what happens from here? But I don't think anyone has ever really doubted his ability. I don't think anyone, his particularly his technical ability. And okay, sometimes watching Ireland, you get frustrated that not every dead ball is as good as his best one. But you can see why certain managers would look at his attributes and think, yeah, he's worth a go. But obviously, the problem, there's two sides to being a free agent. Yes, it's good that there's no transfer fee involved, so there will obviously be a freedom there that people can take a chance in the end and think, okay. But obviously, he would have been earning reasonably good money at Burnley, and with his recent injury record, you might have to go somewhere and take an appearance, a type of contract that's structured towards appearances, because people may not fully trust that you're going to be fully fit, and that's obviously going to be difficult for him. And does he maybe want to, I mean, as you said, does he want to go to a championship club where he'll play all the time? But really, I think it's his body that determines whether he plays all the time, not necessarily the level he's playing at.
I've got a text in here at 53106 from Mark Lawrenson. Would you ask Mark his opinion on why Pogba is considered to be a world-class player? Does he think so? And what exactly makes him world-class? That is from Shamey.
I missed it. Who did
Paul
you say?
Pogba.
I don't think he is. I don't think you've really seen. You might have seen once or twice world-class performances for Manchester United, but generally, John, he's kind of 6 out of 10. I don't even think that Manchester United actually know where his best position is. They try and play him on the left of a 3, sometimes in midfield in a 4-2-3-1 kind of thing. I just think he's still a good player, but he's not a world-class player for me. I mean, he just needs to look 3 miles down the road at the likes of De Bruyne. That's a world-class player. And sometimes you wonder how and why and where the fuss comes about him, but that's probably his agent, isn't it?
He does have does he have world-class ability, Lawro, or does he just not perform consistently enough, or are they the same thing?
He doesn't perform consistently, and he's got everything, because he's a man mountain, and so he's big and he's strong and he's very, very good on the ball. He just doesn't seem to impose himself, and sometimes you watch Manchester United, you almost forget that he's playing, that the game seems to pass him by. And you look at Fernandes and Rashford and Greenwood and those guys, and okay, they have quiet moments in games and quiet games, absolutely. But you look at Pogba, and I've done probably 3 or 4 of their games this year, and honestly, you're kind of driving home the hour's ride back to Southport. I'm thinking, actually, what did he do? And the answer generally has been not very much.
I think it's going to be interesting, lads, though, because you think we talked earlier about the status, the prestige of the Champions League final and the elite end of the club game. You almost forget sometimes, Pogba did win a World Cup and played a big part in winning a World Cup. And we even saw the footage afterwards of him, stepping up in the dressing room and, speaking. And it seemed like, and I know sometimes this can be spin, but it seemed like externally that he actually was a a big part in what was like a very big moment in someone's career. And it's almost going to be interesting. We have the Euros coming around the corner. You know, will we suddenly see him with France like click back into that mold? Because I think Johnny's point, I think he must have world-class abilities, because there have been times where he can be exceptionally good, but it's in those such short, sharp bursts that they actually frustrate everyone when he's so anonymous at other occasions. But like, you sort of forget, like, he has been involved in some very big career moments. It's just they're isolated rather than consistent.
Maybe he wanted that move to Real and that didn't happen, and maybe there's a frustration around that. John Giles was on the show on Thursday after Man United's Europa League final penalty shootout defeat. He didn't have the kindest words for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
I think Solskjaer is not in control of that particular situation, and he's not going to make a fuss about it.
That he's more willing and more pliable and more able to do the board's bidding, essentially.
That's what I think.
Yeah,
that's what I think. I don't see Solskjaer as a real leader. I really don't. I think he's a good lad. I think he's a very nice lad. He's done a reasonable job, but I don't think he's in charge of the buying and selling. I don't think he's a real leader. I mean, even in the lead up to the I was reading his stuff in the lead up to the game, and he was talking about the destiny. You know, it was Matt Busby's birthday, and it was the date when they won the treble. You know, when he played in himself in the European Cup and that. I mean, that's nonsense talk. You know, there's no destiny. If just because it happened something 20 years ago, it's not going to affect the match in any way whatsoever. Last night, he's the leader now. You know, he's not playing. It's Alex Ferguson and Matt Busby. They had their day. He has to emulate them, and you don't do it by going back 20 years or 22 years, in my opinion. And I know I appear to probably be too hard on him. I think he's a nice fella. He's done the best he can. He's made some improvements, but he hasn't got that steel that's needed, I think, at Manchester United.
Mark, is John Giles right about Solskjaer?
Yeah, I think so. Fabulous lad, lovely lad. Well, they've improved under him, but they should with the money that they spent, John. But yeah, I just kind of look at him, and I think in the real kind of important clinical moments in a game, I just don't think he's got it at all. I mean, you know, there was a big argument for obviously taking De Gea off and putting Henderson on with the penalties the other night. I mean, if you remember, it was the Dutch manager who managed Manchester
Van
United.
Gaal and Tim Krul. Yeah.
And he did that, didn't he, in the World Cup, I think. And so, I mean, he would have known all those kind of things. I just think he's a really, really nice lad. But I think, you know, when you get into the dressing room sometimes, and you've got to give it to players, you know, you've tried everything else. It's the carrot and the stick. And you know, it can't be the carrot all the time. Occasionally, it's got to be the stick. And I just don't see him. I don't know, but I just don't see him as being that person. It's really interesting. And you listen to people like Gary Neville and one or two of the lads who played with him and now are obviously watching every single game. And you just get the impression they talk nicely about him, but in brackets, is he strong enough? Is he tactically aware? Is he with all this experience now that he's got, are Manchester United any different? And the answer is probably no. But they've improved. I don't see him getting chucked out of the job.
Interesting one for me in that, you know, he wasn't qualified to get the job in the first place, and you know, whatever about this link as a club legend and all that, you can argue the point, maybe it's relevant, maybe it isn't, but like going into their last two defeats, they'd lost 4 games this season, and you know, they were basically off a penalty shootout from winning the Europa League. I mean, in terms of the season they've had, like, they finished second, and they were fairly comfortable second all told. I don't really know what Manchester United fans could have wanted that was any better. And I think he's grown in the job. He's managed probably a tricky enough dressing room quite well. And I think he's more than worthy of getting more time at this stage, because, like, Manchester United went through several managers since Ferguson, almost none of which really worked. You could argue Mourinho did okay, but Solskjaer has probably grown into the job. I think the fans, Manchester United have very patient and understanding fans. I think when they're back, they'll be all for the Solskjaer project. And I definitely think he deserves more time. I think this season there has been progress. They nearly won the Europa League. They finished second in the league, which is very important. For me, the Champions League is basically where it's at. They comfortably qualified. They're solid at the back. They were very, very good against Man City at times this season as well, particularly in the Etihad. There's a lot of progress there for me.
Yeah, I think 100 minutes to make a substitution was a bit of a worry the other night for Solskjaer against Villarreal, the game management. And also next season's the season. There can't be all these honeymoon seasons. 2.5 years he's there now, no trophy. Chelsea and Liverpool are obviously going to be resurgent next year. This Konaté fella, do you like him, Mark, the Liverpool have signed?
I don't know that much about him, John, to be honest with you. I've heard them talk about him. I haven't really seen that much. I mean, I got to a stage this season where I actually stopped watching some of the football for a while because I just found it kind of almost antiseptic because of COVID, etc. But for 30 million, it seems that they've nicked him. He's obviously big and he's strong. And what he will do, of course, because straight away Joe Gomez is thinking, wow, is that me not starting next season if I'm fit? Obviously Van Dijk's gone clear on that particular worry, or not. And Matip also is another one like Gomez. So it's competition for places, isn't it? All of a sudden, you've got 7 central defenders. It'd be interesting to see. I mean, Klopp generally, in nearly every player that he signed, apart from the goalkeeper that he signed, I think he's got them right. He's improved absolutely each and every one of them, I think, bar the odd one. So, you know, this Michael Edwards guy at Liverpool, in terms of recruitment, he's done a fabulous job. So let's hope so, certainly.
Just before we wrap up, we'll get some predictions on the Champions League final. Dan, I think you were at Dundalk Pats last night. What's the verdict on that? Because a lot of people wouldn't have seen it and they can hear now.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's sort of like Dundalk have had a sort of a mad all week, John. You know, like when you consider they played the 3 teams from Dublin, you know, the 3 Dublin clubs in the space of 7 days. So the first one, they beat Shamrock Rovers to end their unbeaten record, you know, the all-time record. Then the second one, they lose 5-1 to Bows, and you have Jim Magilton talking about how they need to clear out the dressing room. And then last night, it sort of pendulum almost swung back the other way again to what was a pretty, I'd say, impressive enough 2-0 win, or sort of very professional, sort of sort of solid, showed their experience. And it's sort of hard to believe that like it's 8 players who played last night, you know, started a 5-1 drubbing, you know, 4 days previously where they were a shambles. So their season is sort of wildly inconsistent. It's in a way like, you know, it's impressive that they win last night, but it actually, rather than being, say, a response to the criticism from Monday, it almost justifies it, because people are probably looking at it going, how can you on your given day be sort of, you know, and it's not that they were super good last night or anything like that, but it was just that they didn't make any silly mistakes really. You know, so how can you be so solid one day and then so erratic other days? It's only their second clean sheet of the season. So, I mean, it's in some ways it's a positive step, but like I think there's still a sense that, you know, you're going into the mid-season break not knowing how they're going to emerge from it. But listen, it's actually quite congested in the league now. I mean, Sligo Rovers probably deserve a mention. They are top of the league going into the break. That wouldn't have been expected. They won in Finn Harps last night, and there's a little bit more. I mean, I'm just sort of watching Shamrock Rovers at the moment play Longford. It's half-time, 0-0. It's not been as plain sailing for them this season as you might have thought. So at least, you know, through the summer months and into the autumn, we might have a bit of a title race, whereas I think we maybe were fearing that it would just be a one-horse stroll.
Bohemians 2, Waterford 0 as well as the latest score from the League of Ireland Premier Division. OK, Champions League final. Johnny Ward, how'd you call it? Who and why?
Yeah, Bows winning as well, just briefly, John. I think they're a team that to look out for. Sorry to interject there. I'd be very confident Man City will win this. And why? Because I think the game in Paris really showed the mental fortitude of this team, where they readily came out of a bad situation in terms of brilliant PSG performance first half. They kind of just turned the screw really impressively in the second half. I think this has been their plan. They're like a horse that's been prepared for the champion hurdle. The champion hurdle is tonight. This is the race that they've been wanting to win all season, maybe for a few seasons, more so than the Premier League, arguably. I think Chelsea's recent form isn't convincing enough to suggest that they're going to produce it, and simply Man City have a better team. I'd be very confident they get the job done.
Pep being the trainer, I don't know who's going to be the winning jockey, but Dan McDonnell, your prediction, who and why?
Yeah, listen, I did broadly agree. I mean, I was looking for sort of crumbs of optimism from the perspective of it being closer. And you look back to the Cup semi-final, you know, that Chelsea did do a job on them to an extent. But then you look at, and, you know, Mahrez didn't play. Foden come off the bench, Gundogan. So it wasn't quite like, the 11v11 full strength. Now, I think Johnny's point that he makes, that this is like City's date with destiny, or that this is the one they've been trained for, I think that can spin both ways. That there's an expectation that they're going to do it, whereas with Chelsea, there's an element of a free shot for them, and if they can keep it, if they can keep it tight for a period of time, and you can see Werner, like you can see there being moments where they have opportunities, but listen, bottom line, you look at the squads and even the quality that City can leave out, and you think, across the piece they should get it done. But I just don't. I'm not expecting it to be comfortable. I just think there's a pressure on them that gives it the potential to be tense, and I hope that at least gives us suspense right into the final minutes.
Mark Lawrenson, who and why?
I think City will win it, very much for the reasons that the boys have said. There will be nerves from City's point of view. But I think it's a destiny as much as anything, to be honest with you, John, because, they've had many years having a go at this, and they've failed. On occasions, they've failed miserably. They've never played in the final before. I just think the form's fantastic. I think they can change the game from the bench. I don't particularly think that Chelsea can do that with anything like the quality that City have. And I just think that they've got a manager that's absolutely driven. And he won't let them get away with anything tonight. So I think it will be tight, but I do think City will win it. And I think deservedly as well. I do think they are the best team in Europe. And
finally, Marco, Pochettino end up back at Spurs?
I have absolutely no idea. I think they're only taking him because they think he might persuade Harry Kane to stay on.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons. Yeah.
I think Harry Kane's gone, and he's P45, he's off.
Yeah, probably to City. Okay, Mark Lawrenson, Dan McDonnell, Johnny Ward, thanks lads. Enjoy the game.
Cheers.
Okay, the Champions League final, 8 o'clock tonight with Porto, the host City, for Manchester City against Chelsea. Could go to penalties. We'll wait and see if Pep Guardiola or Thomas Tuchel will come out on top in this all-English final, the third one. Just let you know, as well as remember, as you're binging on sport this weekend, to pick out your best performance of the weekend, whether it's a player, manager, or even the ref, tune into OTB's Instagram page tomorrow, Sunday evening. Leave your selection in the comments under our performance rankings post. If your selection matches our top pick live on Monday's OTB AM, then you're in with a chance of winning a Gillette Pro Glide razor, Skin Guard shaving gel, and Pro Glide refill blades pack. A reminder, OTB AM's performance rankings are all with thanks to Gillette. Good morning, starting with Gillette, giving you the confidence to tackle the day ahead. Just to let you know about Brentford and Swansea, that is coming towards the end, isn't it? Brentford leading by 2-0, 90 minutes now. So Brentford into the Premier League at Swansea's expense. Also GA scores to give you as well from around the Allianz Leagues. Cavan 2-11, Derry 1-16. So a win for Derry at Breffni Park. That's a full time. From Division 3 North, Fermanagh 1-15, Longford 18 points, a draw in Enniskillen. Division 3 South, Wicklow 1-12, Limerick 2-19, and Ockram a win for Wicklow. And Offaly have beaten Tipperary by 1-17 to 1-12. That is at O'Connor Park in Tullamore. Also, latest scores from the League of Ireland: Bohemians 2, Waterford 0, Longford 0, Shamrock Rovers 0. And also in the Women's National League, we got some scores: Peaman 2, Galway 0, Athlone 1, Bohemians 2, and a full time from earlier on: Shelburne 0, Wexford Youths 0. Full time in Camogies, Waterford 1-13, 3-15 for Cork, so win for Cork in Group 2 of Division 1. And also full time Offaly 8 points, a comprehensive win for Kilkenny. Kilkenny 4-21, Offaly 8 points. That is in the Camogie. Now, if you missed our Saturday panel, review of the sporting week with Grania McElwain, Brian Gavin and Timmy McCarthy, or any of OTB Football Saturday with Andy Reid, Mark Lawrenson, Dan McDonnell and Johnny Ward, you can be able to find a podcast of our content on the OTB Sports app. Search OTB Sports in your app store now to download the app for iOS and Android, or listen back wherever you get your pods. Don't forget, we're back tomorrow from 1 until 7. Joe Malloy in the chair. Reaction to the Champions League final from Stephen Elliott, the former Republic of Ireland international, and David Sneyd. We'll have updates from GA, from Mayo against Meath with Andy Moran and Tommy Rooney. Michael Meehan and Aisling O'Reilly will also be at Galway versus Dublin. Tommy Conlon and Mick O'Keefe will pick out the best stories on the Sunday paper review, and Luke Jensen will preview the French Open tennis tournament. Be sure to tune in for what's going to be a great show. Enjoy the Champions League final tonight, 8 o'clock start, Chelsea and City. May the best team win. Thanks so much for listening to Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk. Bye-bye.